I'd like to send this video message out to my friend at the University of Dayton, Stephen Harney. And I would also like to send it out to Governor Bob Taft, who is a professor, if not department chair at the University of Dayton. And I'd like to send it out to all who are interested in law, civil rights, and a factual documentation of intimidation by the Ku Klux Klan and Aryan Brotherhood here in Waynesville, Ohio. I'd like to take you back to the year 1997, October. I believe it was the 17th. I was pulled over with my handicapped brother, may he rest in peace, Billy Ham, by Officer Plummer and I believe Officer Wetzel, a short, red-headed cadet at that time. Officer Plummer went on to the Montgomery County Task Force as a sharpshooter, I believe. But they were policing here in Waynesville, Ohio, and pulled me over in a green Metro Geo license plate RSA 159. And when they did, there was some communication issues. As I went up to the front to check the taillight that was out and hit it on the hood, and it came back on, discovering there was a short in the electric. I turned, and the cadet officer yelled, "Gun." And when he did, Officer Plummer took me to the ground. I did not know what was going on as our mayor, Charlie Sanders, pulled up in his blue truck and stopped to calm the situation. And as we got to the bottom of the situation, it was a Christmas gift in the year 1997 to my nephew, Dexter Davidson, October 17th of 1997. So later on, early in the year of 1998, as I was going through a divorce with Deborah Akers, my first wife, Charlie Sanders approached me because I took political science and history at Wright State, and we had had several conversations, some of which were at my store that I ran as a manager on 447 South Main Street in Dayton, Ohio. And he asked me what I thought about a certain situation that developed after that, to where he walked into the mayor's court and someone had called him the N-word. And I said I just feel ashamed that people would act this way in this date and time. And he told me he went to the NAACP and may have talked to some people and filled some paperwork out on the incident, and then turned around in the year 1998 and resigned as mayor of Waynesville, seeking a U.S. representative position to address these things that couldn't be addressed here in Warden County. As he did, his nephew was pulled over by Officer Mark Walters down on 3rd Street in front of Christy Wilson and Brent Morgan's house. I believe they tore the seats apart in the car. It was definitely in retaliation for him and I coming out with the correct answer instead of the answer the police had, which was accusing me of being one of the Kehoe brothers because of an incident in Clinton County at that time. So as time went on, I moved and became married to the township trustee, Pat Davidson's daughter, and became part of the beautiful Davidson family. I worked at the Miami Cemetery with a man named Charlie Morgan. And Charlie Morgan started to tell me of some of the issues that had happened here locally, like the murder of a black man in the late 60s who drove to a gas station owned by Red Carnes on Main Street and Franklin Street in Waynesville, and was murdered and buried by Officer Mark Walters' grandpa over at the cemetery that I was running on Clarksville Road off of 73 in Corwin, Ohio. A statement was made to me during the funeral or the preparation of the funeral for a man named Cheekmeyer, and it was suggested not only in physical motions, but suggested twice that I better not dig that problem up. And that grave that I was digging was located by the tank over by Corwin Avenue or Old 73, in between the Davidson meat processing plant and Smith's Pond on the cemetery side of the road. So as time went on, I didn't say anything about it. But Lloyd Jones come up in 2003, and we began to fix up some of the older headstones that were leaning over and such. And I again got a rendition about, keeping things to ourselves, sort of. And I noticed that the probation officer from Warren County, my trainer at the cemetery, Charles Morgan, began to get agitated, like he was nervous that I was going to tell somebody what he had told me, and soon began propaganda meetings with the cemetery board members that was brought to my attention by Pat Ireland in a phone call. I resigned. I turned my resignation in to Marilyn Foltz, Ellis Welsh, Pat Davidson, and Brad Connor on that day, and they also had a new member named Doug Gibson. I left and was reminded of another story told to me by Charlie Morgan about how the farmers in Clinton County got bulldogged, sort of, on these land deals when 71 was created at the time, the same period, the late 50s, early 60s, as George Hinkle, the investment company, went through and bought up the land with some insider information from then Governor James Dusty Rhodes, and ran into one of the beneficiaries of all them fuel stations that was put up, Mr. Seminarelli out of Springboro, Ohio, because I started to run a gas station, a Speedway in Centerville across from Bill's Donuts, which was his favorite place to stop on his way to Imron Marketing up in Enid. Imron created the first gas station on 71. When I came back to Waynesville after some issues that I had in 2014, I sort of inherited some issues when my wife and I decided to no longer stay married. And there was a campaign against me by some people. And I sent out instant messages with pictures attached to Marty Hubble and Lisa Litherland, and said that there was some issues with the prosecutor's office and a friend of mine. And when I went to jail and got out, I had to work with the trash company. And the trash company started off my trash day at Cedars Creek and then came down and parked right in front of the Davidson's meat processing, where the insinuation was that Charlie Morgan had made. On my second trip back to jail when I got out, the Ku Klux Klan laid out literature all over Waynesville, Ohio, and handed out candy wrappers like these with the literature to further intimidate and cause me to shut up about some of the programs they had down here that were profiling, to say the least. It was intimidation at its finest. It's in the USA Today if you Google it. You can also Google Mayor Sanders resigns to get the rest of the story.